Okay, so really quick, my time with the Lord today, he made it very clear we have a lot to work on. And by we, I mean me, showing me stuff about myself that I was like, okay, I hear you, I'm listening. And you know, that's a part of having a relationship, is talking about things that bother you. So one of the things that he said to me was like, every time you allow distractions to get in the way, you push yourself away from even wanting the purpose that I called you to. So for example, I kept getting up because I left my pen on my dresser. But every time I got up, for some reason, the fog would hit my mind and I would not remember why I got up. And I was like, why does this keep happening? This happened 3 or 4 times in a span of like 5 minutes. And I was like, something wrong with me? Like, no, God was trying to teach me something. So all that to say, I ended up finally realizing like, oh, I got up to get this pen. So when I got the pen off the dresser, I was like, okay, now I can focus on the purpose that God called me to, which was to do the Bible study this morning because I woke up at 5 a.m. And mind you, when I sat down to write, he was like, distract your distractions. And I was like, what does that even mean? Long story short, he basically said, if you look up even like where the word distract comes from, it basically was a form of torture that the old Frenchmen would do on people whenever they were trying to like punish them and kill them and torture them. So they would take the person's limbs, like all 4 of their limbs, like 2 arms and 2 legs, and they would all be dragged by individual horses, and they would literally they would DIS-TRACT them, take their limbs off the track. So like they were literally being dismembered by, you know, every side of their body almost, and pulled in different directions. And that's what distractions do to our minds. It literally pulls us in different directions, and it causes us to literally be dismembered to the point where, like, yes, you can get brain fog, or yes, you can be confused about your purpose, or yes, you can be mishandled by people because you don't know where you're actually supposed to be. So it makes you gullible. It makes you easily offended. It causes you to lose like vision and clarity in your purpose. It causes all these problems because you don't see it as an issue. You don't see the fact that, like, yeah, the time you spend on your phone is probably excessive and you probably need to stop. The time you spend at your job, you need to be investing that in your relationship with God. How about we start focusing on the stuff that matters so that we can stay in the place of purpose and not be so easily consumed by things of this world, because there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of stuff to get your head stuck in. And unfortunately, we don't see it as a problem because everybody else is doing it too. And that's why we got to get out of that carnality, like that carnal mentality of thinking about like everything in the form of like a perspective of the world. Like you're looking at everything from the perspective of a world that hates God. So yeah, you're going to be easily distracted if you follow the world's patterns. Yeah, you're going to be easily unmotivated. You're not going to look into what the purpose that God has for your day. Like, you're thinking long term, like, oh, in 20 years when I write that book. No, what about what he told you to do today? What about right now? What about the fact that, like, he put breath in your body for a time such as this? What about that? Like, let's not neglect the fact that God still has purpose for every day he put us on this earth. He numbered our days. So, like, the same way he numbered our hairs, we got to keep in mind, like, everything has a purpose and a plan, and everything has an assignment. And if we don't fulfill those assignments and complete those missions, he has to give them to somebody else. I don't want him to have to give my assignment to somebody else because I didn't handle my business. So what I'm telling you and reminding myself to do is to focus on what God has me to do today and what distractions do I need to distract. So what distractions do you need to distract today? Because for me, I'm going to have to distract on my distractions. I'm going to have to pull apart my distractions. For example, my distractions are social media and honestly just overthinking about things that don't matter. I be coming up with whole stories in my mind about situations I might end up in, or like a situation I might end up in, and a conversation I might need to have, and I have this whole mapped out, choreographed conversation about how this is going to go out and how I'm going to play this thing out. But that's a distraction, because instead of doing that, I need to be doing what God told me to do. which was study his word, which was get a scripture in my mind and meditate on it day and night. And he even gave me a certain amount of times to do it. And you think I even hit one yet? Distracted. So I'm going to distract my distractions today. So I'm going to pull them apart. I'm going to look at what am I spending most of my time doing. So here are 2 ways I'm going to be distracting my distractions. Number 1, I am about to dissect my day. I'm going to look at a 24-hour period. I'm going to see what I'm wasting my time on. And I'm going to cut back. I'm not going to eliminate some of the things because some of them are not things that are necessarily like pulling me away from purpose, but they need to be refined because they are becoming it's becoming like a gluttony type of thing where like too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing. So like, yeah, you can have social media, but too much of it is not good. But like the same way with food and the same way with a lot of stuff, like just excess. I don't need excess of anything that's not God. I want to be excessively obsessed with the Lord in such a way that when he tells me to cut something off, it's easy to do. Like right now, he's like been telling me to do certain things and I'm having trouble doing it because I've realized they've become way too important. And his relationship with me has not been important enough. So I'm going to have to distract my distractions by removing them, by pulling them at the limbs, taking them apart at the root, and getting to the bottom of it so that it does not control me and it has no hold on me. I don't want a stronghold. I don't want more strongholds. I've already been delivered from a lot of them and I'm still going through processes of deliverance. I refuse to create more strongholds, especially if I know how to now go through and like cut them at the root. Because when I think about even the way that people will do witchcraft and they use root work, all they're doing is they're getting to the very base, the very foundation of something, and they're working against somebody. They're working against something at the root of the issue, of the situation, of the relationship, of the job, of the purpose, of the plan, of the gift, of the marriage, of the kids, of the womb. Like they will go at the root of something. And so now, as a Christian, if I'm supposed to be the one that, for one, I'm on the winning team. So I know that I'm not afraid of no weapon because the weapons that are formed won't prosper. But I also know this. I have to be in agreement and alignment with God so that he can work those things out for me. And I don't have to focus so much on trying to do it out of my own strength. So I'm going to do my part so that he can do his part because I want him to work with me and I don't want to work against the Lord in my life anymore. So I'm cutting distractions. I'm putting myself on a timer. I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to get to the root. What is it? Is it boredom? Am I just not feeling like I have enough purpose to where like I have enough to do for real? Like, I mean, you can't be that bored. And when God gives you assignments, you should never be bored. You should never be bored enough to be scrolling on Facebook for 15 hours. That should not be a thing.